when we try to teach children social skills, we actually undermine their natural abilities because they know we're smarter than them and more powerful. So they stop paying attention to their own natural instincts.
Hi, this is Rusty Keeler, and you're listening to the Play Nature Podcast, where we talk about play, nature, playing in nature, and the nature of play. I'm glad you're here. Let's have a listen. I am so excited for you to check out this episode of the podcast because I'm speaking with the great Deb Curtis. Yay! I've known Deb for a million years, and she is so wise and inspiring and, I don't know, the best vibe in early childhood education, in my opinion. And so we have a great conversation here, but we dove into it so quickly that I didn't even get to read her bio. So I'm going to read it now before we even start the conversation. And it's kind of funny because it's written in the first person. So it's me saying I'm Deb Curtis. Greetings. My name is Deb Curtis. I'm a passionate advocate for children and childhood and the adults who care and educate them. I've spent my career championing the rights and brilliance of young children. With decades of experience working alongside children and educators in early childhood programs across North America, I've spent countless hours observing, learning from, and studying children's and teachers' development. As the author of several books focused on stories of children, I've shared insights drawn from real classrooms and relationships. I consider myself an avid kid watcher, someone who finds endless inspiration in children's capacity for connection, curiosity, and learning. This deep respect is what keeps me in the classroom, engaged as a mentor, teacher, even beyond the age many choose to retire. I continue to observe, reflect with others, and share stories that remind us of the hope and possibility children bring to a complex world. You can find my work at Red Leaf Press and Exchange Press or on the Facebook group Children's Lively Minds. Yes, I told you she's inspirational. And hey, here's a bonus. We're going to do a book giveaway of one of Deb's great books. All you need to do is listen to the podcast, and we have a special video that we put together of Deb and I looking at all these pictures of toddlers in her environment, at her center, and we talk all about it. She describes what's going on. We have a great conversation in the video too. That's in the show notes, link to YouTube. So listen to the podcast, watch the video, and you'll get a clue. It's sort of like a little treasure hunt. And then you can just email me at playnaturepodcast@gmail.com with the answer. But without further ado, here's our conversation.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
Hey, good. How are you?
Oh, hanging in. You asked me to talk about what I've been thinking about lately, and children actually give me hope for humans because they're, my whole career, which is a long time now, since 1969, I was in the very first Head Start program in my community in Long Beach, California. That was when Head Start was just the summer before kindergarten summer program for kids from low-income households. Anyway, so I have incredible hope for us. This whole entire career, what I've noticed about children is they're really kind and they're very much into helping, and they want to make a contribution to the group, and they have these incredible social skills already. And so I've been doing a lot of reading about it and research, and all of the research confirms that we're born to be good. In fact, there's a book called that. We're born with a compassionate instinct. Also a book about that. And I've been reading this book called Humankind. And really, Darwin's idea about the survival of the fittest is not accurate. It's survival of the kindest. And this guy in this book, he's researched way back to when we were, in the cave people days. And like all of these questions that he had about, well, how did we survive? Why didn't the Neanderthals survive? Because they actually had better brains than we have in terms of being smart, but they were, sort of not kind. And so we were the kindest. We survived because of that. And even our facial features have changed. They call us Homo puppies because we've changed to have these incredible round faces and eyes, and we're more friendly looking than
Oh.
the Neanderthals were. Anyway, I just,
Wow.
that's my thing. I love to watch what kids do. And then I love to look at what does the science say about it? What do other people think about this? And bring that together. So that's what I've been really excited about and collecting. I've been collecting those stories my whole career, but I'm putting it together and sort of, oh my goodness. And I'm writing another book with Nadia about it. It's called, going to be called Eagerness for Relationships. So it will have these stories about children doing amazing things, and then the research and the science that supports this. And one of the things that it says is that when we try to teach children social skills, we actually undermine their natural abilities, because we know they know we're smarter than them and more powerful, so they stop paying attention to their own natural instincts and try to do what we say. So yeah.
Yes, confusing. That's very confusing when you already have a voice. They have the voice inside and inner guidance, and
Yeah. And then
yeah,
people, you got to do it this way.
love it. It's
Like,
amazing. Yeah.
but I feel like this needs to be out there in our profession, because there's everything about social skills curriculum, and teach kids to share and teach compassion. And you don't need to teach it. You need to recognize it and make it visible so it can grow. And I think that message needs to be out there. So
So how do you see that? What are some examples that just is like obvious, like the natural compassion that we come into the world with, and
well, I mean, you see it in relationship to how children respond to each other's sadness and struggle, particularly young toddlers. They will go and try to comfort somebody. They want to help when you give them the opportunity to wash the tables. They want to move right in there. They recognize when something's not fair. Like, I use that a lot because I read this idea that children have a understanding of fairness from the time they're really young, like 10 months or something. Anyway, so Koji has all the trucks and Keiko wants some. And so I just named that. Oh, look, Koji, you have all the trucks and Keiko doesn't have any. That doesn't seem very fair. That's all I have to say. And he's like, oh, okay, starts giving. And that happens more often than not. I would say probably 80% of the time. Kids will go, oh, yeah, it needs to be fair. So I think those kinds of things are really powerful. I've been doing some mentor teaching in a preschool this last year, and there were there were these girls having this conversation about I got here first, I had it first, which is something we do with kids. Like, if you had it first, you get it. And I was always like, so what if you had it first? Right? Like, what does that mean? Anyway, so they were having this like little dispute, and I try not to move in until I give them opportunity. So they all wanted to sit on a bench and they couldn't all fit. So they were having this discussion. Well, I was here first. Well, I've been here 30,000 minutes. Well, I've been, they were like having this huge discussion about it. So finally, one of the children said, well, I know, why don't we walk over here and sit on this bench? Because then we could all sit together. So it was her idea. So that was because I didn't jump in, right? Most grown-ups don't give that time. Move in and try to solve it or try to do some sort of problem solving rather than see what happens. And, if they hadn't gone for it after a while, I would have, offered the idea, well, that doesn't seem fair that she doesn't get to sit there with you. And she had a great idea. That might have been what I'd said if nothing would have shifted. And it doesn't always, but most of the time it does. And I want to call on that in children and help that happen, help them see their own kindness and compassion and wanting to be together, to do it together.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Just
Nurture that.
make it visible to me
Mm-hmm,
and to them so that it can grow. Because the stories we tell is what grows. And if we
mm-hmm,
a story of that's what's going to grow
mm-hmm.
instead of, oh, look, we're all playing together. Oh, we all have the same ideas.
Yeah, we're in it together. We're in it
Yeah.
together. It's not a competition.
Yeah. And that's our natural way, right? That is the natural way for humans to be, is to be together. And children want that more than anybody because they haven't had it trained out of them. So, I started getting more specific about it with the schema theory. Do you know that book? My book,
Oh, mm-mm.
Children's Lively Minds. And it's got this idea of repeated, it's a theory called schema theory, and it's pretty much promoted mostly in Great Britain and Australia. And that's where I learned it. I went to New Zealand or Australia and learned about it. So basically what it is these repeated actions and patterns in children's play that are reflections of their brain development. And they do things over and over again. And it's things like dumping and filling, it's mostly things that annoy you. It's things like transporting things from place to place without necessarily a purpose, just moving things. Trajectory, you probably know this one because you create all kinds of opportunities for that in your design. Make things move, make your body move, fly through the air, run down a ramp, throw a ball, zoom. So that's another one. Another one is enclosure, getting inside things or putting things inside other things. Anyway, so that was this big thing that I was paying attention to. And Nadia and I, the co-author of that book, we were sending each other text messages and pictures. Look, this is happening. And there were no books in the United States
Mm-hmm.
about it. And all the ones from New Zealand and the other places are all white kids. So we wanted to reflect the beautiful diversity of our program. So we wrote this book, and it's such a powerful notion. Once you see it, you never stop seeing it because it's what happens. So to build on this idea of relationships, all children see these things and they see them in each other. And it is how they play together without words. Oh, you want to zoom down that hill? I want to do that too. Oh, you want to dump that?
Mm.
So do I. Oh, you want to change that somehow? So that's how they play together with this repeated actions that they're all doing. It's familiar to them and they don't even need words to do it. So it's pretty amazing when you start seeing all this stuff
Wow.
and
Yeah.
how it works to build their brain
Huh.
and their relationships with each other. So, yeah. And I could probably name ways your designs, your environmental designs involve all of these things, even if you haven't thought specifically about them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The patterns of play that children, yeah, find themselves in and seek out. I love that idea of recognizing developmentally. It's just an interesting perspective of like, oh, I recognize that person pouring water because I'm developmentally in that zone too, and I want to do that and side by
Yeah.
side and
And let's do it together.
all the
Let's do it together. Yeah, it's
huh.
powerful stuff once you start seeing.
So then these are patterns that are helping to make the branches of the brain, building the different pieces and parts.
Yeah, it's all about brain development. I mean, you can't check it off on a box, right? Oh, there's that brain pathway for this. It's this, sort of continual way that the brain makes connections. And obviously, you know this too, that physicality is hugely important for brain development.
Hmm.
So just a more specific thinking about what that means. Like they've also connected these schemas to math play. Like all of it is math and physics, right? The way that, and one of them is also sorting and classifying, lining things up. They've identified about 40 schemas in children's play. Nadia and I only write about 8 of them. So there are a lot of people who have nerd brains, like, oh, horizontal this and vertical this. And so it's fascinating to me. I like that stuff.
Well, what are the 8?
Oh, okay. So it's enclosing and enveloping.
Okay.
So you do that with your own body, right? You get inside things, you cover yourself, or that's enveloping, or getting in a hole or a cubby, or, some of those things that you design on playgrounds.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's also that's enclosing is filling, but also dumping, like making things fall out. So that they call trajectory, right? When you make things move, whether it be your body speeding down or a ball, or, these are these annoying things, right? That when kids
Mm-hmm.
do that, like I used to have this group of preschool boys who would zoom the little cars all over the room. And I was like, you're going to break a window. You're going to poke your eye out. It's like really, because they would just zoom them. So my coworker and I, this is before I knew about schemas. We decided, well, let's try this because they are having so much fun, and we were just being the preschool police the whole day, like stopping it, and it obviously was not working.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided to try it ourselves, and we had a blast trying to figure out how to make these cars zoom everywhere. So then we started provisioning for it in ways that would control the zoom, right? So we found ramps, we found things with openings that they can put it in. We got a great big tube that went from our climber in the room, our loft, to the floor, so that they could do it in ways that was okay with us and wasn't just flying. So that trajectory is a big one. And they do most of these schemas with their own bodies first, right? Enclose their bodies, zoom their bodies down a ramp or down, in those places. Then there's also transforming, making things change. Why a baby squishes a banana and, makes, a mess. I
Mm-hmm.
would say another annoying behavior, a mess. And
Mm-hmm.
that's also a huge one. That's why they love things like water play and Play-Doh and all of those things that appeal to this desire to make something change, to transform the world. Let's see what else. Like I said, orientation and perspective. Like, how often have you seen kids put things up to their eyes, right? To look through something. So they want to change their perspective, or go upside down so they see how the world looks
Yeah.
upside
Yeah.
down. So
Yeah.
that's another one. Ordering and classifying, lining things up, matching things,
Hmm.
stacking things. There's vertical and horizontal ordering and classifying. What am I forgetting? Oh, this one's a fascinating one. Rotation and circularity. Children are drawn to things that are circles, that they can make turn in circles. So you see that all the time, right? That they want to do things that make them spin, or and I was like, well, why is that? Why are we drawn to circular things? So I looked that up, and basically, they discovered when they did brain imaging, when we're looking at something circular or curved shaped, the part of our brain that feels calm lights up. And when we're looking at angles and points and things like that, the part of our brain that feels stressed lights up.
Uh,
And then
uh,
they looked at
uh,
human faces, right? And that's this whole homo puppy again, that we
uh-huh.
have all these curved lines and circles on our face. So that has to do with babies looking in their
Mm.
members' eyes and seeing this round face and round eyes and feeling really calm. So it's like all of these connections. It's just like astonishing from my point of view. There's so much complexity in the world, and I love to think about those things. I have a curious mind. I hang out with toddlers. They make me that way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, they are like they're investigating. I would say like a planet in outer space. They're searching. They're curious. They're wondering. They're figuring it out. I mean, really, you find yourself as a toddler, and here's the world, and what's it do?
Yeah, it's just so exciting, right? And you have extrasensory perception, and most people call that attention deficit. You have an excitement for everything, attention for everything. Your brain is built that way
Yeah.
because that's how you learn, right? Something new comes, you want to see it. And
Yes.
people say that's a deficit, attention
Oh.
deficit rather than, I call it attention for everything or super attention, because that's what their brain is seeking, right? Their brains are really open, way more open than ours. Ours are kind of stuck in place unless we do things to try to keep them open. Uh, so that's what they're doing. Like you say, oh, here, look, the world, now I can move, now I can do this, now I can change this. And then there's this natural gift of your brain telling you what to do to figure it out, these schemas. It's like astonishing.
Hmm.
Yeah. And did you know the scientific method was defined by watching children play? Because it was like,
No, I
yes,
did not know that. What do you mean?
look that up. Because they were trying to figure out like what goes on, and they saw how children like had hypotheses, they tried out their theories, they used problem solving and trial and error and statistics. I mean, as young as 10-month-old, they're doing statistical analysis of the world. Like, you do this, I do this, you do this, I do this, noticing what you might do. I don't think we see how amazing children are. And I want to make sure that we don't interfere with that we don't undermine these natural gifts and abilities, because it's amazing who humans are in the world.
When you work with adults, what are some of your favorite ways from this perspective of offering and helping, make change come from you to the people you're with, to the children they're with? What are
Yeah, that's this side by side work I described when we go, and the focus is looking at what do we notice. And I try to help people see themselves first, because I really believe that as educators in a room with a group of children, we have all the power. Sometimes don't feel like it, but we decide when the lights are on or off. We decide what materials are going to be available, when kids get to go outside. We decide everything. We decide who we're going to pay attention to and why, and who we're not going to pay attention to, and what are we going to further and notice. So all those things have so much power in a group of children. And I want us to do it with intention, and to really make sure we're not undermining these amazing people. So that's what we go in first in these observations, and I suggest don't do anything but notice yourself. What are you noticing? Why are you noticing that? What's your response to it? And then notice what you wouldn't have noticed. So what are you noticing that you wouldn't have noticed? And how do you respond to that? And what happens when you don't respond? If you're not the one responding, you don't have a role, what happens? And that's a really powerful tool, I think, for adults to work with children, and it's not an easy one, right? Because you have so many things you have to pay attention to. And the idea that you would stop and pay attention to yourself is sort of what? But the truth is, you're only paying attention to yourself anyway, so you might as well be intentional about it and through what it is. And I think it takes practice. You need to do it you need to notice and reflect and notice and reflect, so that when you're in the moment, you have more of a repertoire to call on to make meaning, because there's so many things happening, and there's not one right way, right? There are many ways and many meanings to make about what's going on right now. And you get to decide which one you're going to, notice what you value here. What do you want to help grow and further? And again, not easy. I'm not some sort of pie in the sky person that thinks this is all magic wandy. It's not an easy job to do, but that's the way to make it nourishing for yourself. And also, if you're looking for what you love, the children are going to be a lot happier, because you're going to be really happy. You're going to be loving everything. So that's what I think is the most useful. And I have to say, if I'm not in a role where I'm supporting them to slow down and do this, it's a very specific structure for notice,
practice?
right? But if I'm just side by side with people, working with them, not very patient, because I'm seeing these things children are doing as aming, and they're not.
Right.
So I've just been doing it so
Wow.
long. I want to just go, wait, look.
So, okay, that noticing, as an adult, and whether it's educator or for parents too, all the different things that parents are juggling. I don't know what can people do in a small way that noticing themselves or watching themselves.
Well, I suggest you just even pause for 20 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Just pause for a minute
Mm-hmm.
and take it in.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing is so urgent. Sometimes it might be you have to jump in, but not things are not that urgent that you have to jump in. So, how do you even pause for 20 seconds? Take a breath and try to see what might be on a child's mind or what they're trying to accomplish. So, I think that's a really good idea. And then once you start seeing that you can pause for that long, maybe you can pause for a little longer and not interact for a while to see what unfolds. Like you don't have to fix everything. In fact, when you try to fix things, you undermine what's going on. So that's to me a first little practice. It's just stop, breathe, and
Mm-hmm.
notice. And then I suggest people, how do you see what children are doing as amazing? How do you not judge it as something that needs fixing or care? How do you try to get curious about what is this child trying to accomplish? What's on their mind? How is this something that's going to help them from their point of view? Because I really believe children seek what they benefit from, that we're born with all of these natural abilities, instincts, approaches to life that benefit us in our brain. Sometimes we're not right about that as a child, and sometimes adults have a better way. But children don't do things just to be mean. They don't do things just to mess up the world. They do them because there's something that they think they're going to benefit from, either naturally or because what their life has been. So if you can shift your attention to that, I think that helps you see competence. And if there's a kid that drives you nuts, find the ways you can fall in love with them because that's the only way you're going to help yourself and them, right? If it's always about no, 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 that's just going to keep perpetuating their negative feelings about themselves and life, and then you're only going to see that story of that child. So how do you find all the ways the child is doing something amazing that you can love? So those are little, and it takes practice. It doesn't get fixed right away, and you're human and you have headaches. And I don't think there's any right answers to any of this. I do think there are wrong answers. The wrong
Hmm.
answers, when you're going to hurt a child emotionally or physically, that's wrong. And that, we could have different opinions about what that would look like. But again, there are so many things that you can do. And it's just a matter of what do you want to do and what do you want to further? What do you value? How do you see
Mm-hmm.
this child's competence? And yeah, not
Mm-hmm.
easy. I'm not
Mm.
suggesting it's easy.
No, no, no. So layered and complex and changing all the time, and
Mhm.
wow, I like that there's no right answer, but there are wrong answers.
Yep.
So how do we
Uh,
shift to the yeah, to the realm of right answers? So how about with the educators when they try this on and they go through the process with you and they're biting their lips, and what do they find from the exercise, or what kind of noticing, and people like, I'm gonna change, I want to change, or I don't know, what are
yeah,
they?
there is that process of, like, wow, self-discovery. And I did this in San Diego, and they kept doing it. She started giving
Mm.
there's opportunities not to have a role, like to just watch. So they would
Oh,
keep doing it, right?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
they realize how much they can gain from being able to just watch and notice and talk to somebody else about what you just saw and get another point of view and things. So again, she took it right up and started creating these structures for people to have time off the floor, but to be in the room to really watch and see. So that happened. That just happened. And
Hmm.
I don't know, I did this work over many years in the same program with the same people. And one of the things that made me believe it was valuable is that the same teachers kept signing up to do it. I did it in Arizona, like for 4 or 5 years in toddler programs with toddler teachers. The same group of people signed up every year to be a part of this.
Mm,
I would go 4 times a year and we would do this work in the classroom. I did it in Texas for 10 years and in Canada for many years. And the same people just kept wanting to do it. So that's another reason I think it's really, people find it really useful. It's not
mm,
easy. It's an expensive model, right? To have teachers in a room that don't have a role but watching, but it makes such a difference in
mm.
how they see their work and that kind of thing.
Because when I first started and getting these ideas for the nature play and I one of my first 3 jobs was up at Cornell University, and they had an amazing early childhood program, incredible teachers, and they had the behind the two-way mirror glass stuff. So I remember going up there. It was like I had a project to do for the outdoor play, but I was just there to kind of learn about the early childhood world that, way back when. And it was just interesting to even have that of like what the college students, the experience that they could have, what you see through that window when you are not involved at
Yeah.
all, right? Just to really watch what happens. And then you see the adults, and it's interesting there. Then you see the adults, you see what those adults in there don't see because they're not,
Right.
they're not, yeah, there's so many, I mean, incredible things, incredible. And I do that now. I have a favorite preschool that my sons went to, and I'm friends with the director in town. And just, I'll go like embed myself, take pictures or do, scribble ideas and stuff and watch. And again, the things that you see, like it's just magical moments that just
Yeah.
rise and fall, and then it goes back into the swirl of the flow of play.
Yeah. Isn't play amazing? It's just still I get so excited about what I see. Like I was yesterday, I was at the program I go to. I go to this preschool. I just was watching these children that were so remarkable. I focused on this one little girl who was like running around the yard, kind of in her own drama, right? With this like claws out and her face fierce, and she's growling as she runs and then she stopped, and there was this structure made out of poles, and that it was like a square made out of poles, and so she decided she was going to pick it up. And it was really unwieldy and a little bit heavy, but she stuck with it, and again she had the best facial expressions, and so she picked it up and moved it and went back and forth across the yard, really like tippy and unwieldy, but did it. And then she went put that down, and she went running to the climbing structure, jumped onto the top and flung herself way off, and then just had this look on her face. And I just got so happy watching her, right? Like this power, this feeling of powerfulness and fierceness and strength and yeah, drama. It was just, I love watching it. It just makes me so happy. And, I know all the things about what was happening that are helping her grow and learn and all of that stuff, because I've studied it so much. But just the pure feeling, like, of what she was experiencing. And, that's another thing, mirror neurons. When you pay attention to someone, your brain does the same thing their brain does. That's like a huge way humans learn.
Oh,
You can feel that amazing feeling of wonder and magic and effervescence by just
yes.
watching them. Brain gets that way.
Hmm.
So try it. You do. It sounds like that's what you do.
I do. Well, it made me think of this little sequence, this little story watching this play. It was a sandpit area with a little trickle of water, and there were 2 girls that were in the sand. And there were little troughs, and they were, putting different pouring it in cups and then pouring it in the sand and doing things. And the teachers were elsewhere. So they kept doing things, and they both had sun hats on. And at one point, they got the idea of like, oh, what if we put the water instead of a cup into our sun hats and then carry it over in the sun hats? Yeah, right. Enclosure, movement. And then how does a sun hat hold water compared to a plastic cup? And they did that for a while, and then they were standing side by side, both filling their hats, and it was like another unspoken thing. They both said, you could say, put it on our heads. And they put it on their head, and I was just watching. And they did, and they had the instantaneous, the same experience of the water suddenly, whoosh, what that felt like, and their eyes together, and it was like this. I just felt like this emotional supernova of like
exactly
joy, excitement, and I was just a witness, right? Teachers were also,
but I
kids
bet
were.
your brain did it too, because you were right there with them.
I felt it. Yes, I was like, yes.
That is the best story. I love it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. A million magic moments.
Yeah, if we just pause to notice, just pause and marvel. That's my other phrase. Pause and marvel at what you're seeing. And yes, it's not easy. I got to make sure people don't just write me off.
Yeah.
I get that it's not an easy thing to do. I've been doing it for 60 years. So
long time. Yeah. Right. And educators, we know there's a million billion things going on in the classroom, and all sorts of stuff happening, and your goals, and cleanups and high energy. But yeah, just the call. That's for our life in general. Like deep breaths. Where are we? What's happening? And in the greater things, how can we get through this? Or where are our allies and in it all? And
hold the complexity.
Well, it's been great to pause and marvel with you today, Deb. And all right.
Thanks, Rusty.
All right, thanks, Deb.
Be in touch.
See ya.
Bye.
All right, bye. All right. Thanks for listening. Do you have a comment or a question? Email me at playnaturepodcast@gmail.com. I like talking about this stuff. And maybe we could use your question on a future podcast episode. As always, I have some free goodies for you in the show notes, including my outdoor loose parts guide. Fun stuff in there. And so I wish you the best in your outdoor play adventures. And when it comes to adding nature to your yard, or loose parts, or saying yes to risky play, my favorite motto is dream big, start small, and never stop. Oh yeah. Woo, 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 woo. Let's do it. All right. Have fun out there.